The True Story of King Marshmallow, Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by ShrimpPhish. Oh, a jolly old fellow was King Marshmallow, as ever wore a crown. At every draught of wine he quaffed, and at every joke of his jester he laughed. Laughed till the tears ran down. Oh, he laughed, ha-ha, and he laughed, ho-ho. And every time that he laughed, do you know, the lords in waiting, they did just so. But Queen Bonneberry was not quite so merry. She sat and sighed all the while, and she turned very red and shook her head at everything Jingle the Jester said, and never vouchsafed a smile. Oh, she sighed, ah me, and she sighed, hey-oh, and every time that she sighed, do you know, the ladies in waiting, they did just so. Then the jester spoke, just by way of a joke. Oh, he was a funny man. And he said, "May it please your majesties, I wish to complain of those impudent fleas that bite me whenever they can." Then the king he laughed, ha-ha, ho-ho, and the queen she sighed, ah me, hey-oh, while the lords and the ladies, they did just so. "As for that, my man," the king began, "the fleas bite whoever they like, but the very first flea you chance to see, wherever he may happen to be, you have my permission to strike." And the king he roared, ha-ha, ho-ho, while the queen she sighed, ah me, hey-oh, and the lords and the ladies, they did just so. Just then Jingle sighted a flea that had lighted, right on, well, where do you suppose? On Marshmallow's own royal face, and the clown, in bringing his hand with a swift motion down, nearly ruined the poor monarch's nose. And the king he shrieked, ah, oh, and the queen burst out laughing, ha-ha, ho-ho, while the lords and the ladies stood stupidly by, and didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. End of section. This recording is in the public domain.
The Jackdaw of RHEIMS by Thomas Ingoldsby, the pen name of the Reverend R.H. Barham. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. The jackdaw sat on the cardinal's chair. Bishop and abbot and prior were there. Many a monk and many a friar, many a knight and many a squire, with a great many more of lesser degree. In sooth, a goodly company, and they served the Lord Primate on bended knee. Never, I ween, was a prouder scene, read of in books or dreamt of in dreams, than the Cardinal Lord Archbishop of RHEIMS. In and out through the motley rout that little jackdaw kept hopping about, here and there like a dog in a fair, over comfits and cakes and dishes and plates, cowl and cope and rochet and pall, mitre and crozier, he hopped upon all. With saucy air he perched on the chair, where in state the great Lord Cardinal sat, in the great Lord Cardinal's great red hat, and he peered in the face of his lordship's grace, with a satisfied look, as if he would say, "We too are the greatest folks here today." The feast was over, the board was cleared, the flawns and the custards had all disappeared, and 6 little singing boys, dear little souls, in nice clean faces and nice white stoles, came in order due, 2 by 2, marching that grand refectory through. A nice little boy held a golden ewer, embossed and filled with water, as pure as any that flows between Rheims and Namur, which a nice little boy stood ready to catch in a fine golden hand-basin made to match. 2 nice little boys, rather more grown, carried lavender water and eau de cologne, and a nice little boy had a nice cake of soap, worthy of washing the hands of the Pope. 1 little boy more a napkin bore, of the best white diaper, fringed with pink, and a cardinal's hat marked in permanent ink. The great Lord Cardinal turns at the sight of these nice little boys, dressed all in white. From his finger he draws his costly turquoise, and, not thinking at all about little jackdaws, deposits it straight by the side of his plate, while the nice little boys on his eminence wait, till, when nobody's dreaming of any such thing, that little jackdaw hops off with the ring. There's a cry and a shout, and no end of a rout, and nobody seems to know what they're about, but the monks have their pockets all turned inside out. The friars are kneeling and hunting and feeling the carpet, the floor, and the walls and the ceiling. The cardinal drew off each plum-coloured shoe, and left his red stockings exposed to the view. He peeps and he feels in the toes and the heels. They turn up the dishes, they turn up the plates. They take up the poker and poke out the grates. They turn up the rugs, they examine the mugs. But no such thing, they can't find the ring. And the abbot declared that, when nobody twigged it, some rascal or other had popped in and prigged it. The cardinal rose with a dignified look. He called for his candle, his bell, and his book. In holy anger and in pious grief, he solemnly cursed that rascal thief. He cursed him at board, he cursed him in bed, from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. He cursed him in sleeping, that every night he should dream of evil and wake in a fright. He cursed him in eating, he cursed him in drinking, he cursed him in coughing, in sneezing and winking. He cursed him in sitting, in standing, in lying. He cursed him in walking, in riding, in flying. He cursed him in living, he cursed him in dying. Never was heard such a terrible curse. But what gave rise to no little surprise, nobody seemed one penny the worse. The day was gone, the night came on, the monks and the friars they searched till dawn. When the sacristan saw, on crumpled claw, came limping a poor little lame jackdaw, no longer as gay as on yesterday. His feathers all seemed to be turned the wrong way. His pinions drooped, he could hardly stand. His head was as bald as the palm of your hand. His eyes so dim, so wasted each limb, that heedless of grammar, they all cried, "That's him! That's the scamp that has done this scandalous thing! That's the thief that has got my Lord Cardinal's ring!" The poor little jackdaw, when the monks he saw, feebly gave vent to the ghost of a caw, and turned his bald head, as much as to say, "Pray be so good as to walk this way." Slower and slower he limped on before, till they came to the back of the belfry door, when the first thing they saw, midst the sticks and the straw, was the ring in the nest of that little jackdaw. Then the great Lord Cardinal called for his book, and off that terrible curse he took. The mute expression served in lieu of confession, and being thus coupled with full restitution, the jackdaw got plenary absolution. When those words were heard, that poor little bird was so changed in a moment, 'twas really absurd. He grew sleek and fat. In addition to that, a fresh crop of feathers came thick as a mat. His tail waggled more even than before, but no longer it wagged with an impudent air. No longer he perched on the cardinal's chair. He hopped now about with a gait devout. At matins, at vespers, he never was out. And, so far from any more pilfering deeds, he always seemed telling the confessor's beads. If anyone lied, or if anyone swore, or slumbered in prayer time and happened to snore, that good jackdaw would give a great "Ah!" as much as to say, "Don't do so any more." While many remarked, as his manners they saw, that they never had known such a pious jackdaw. He long lived the pride of that countryside, and at last in the odour of sanctity died. When, as words were too faint his merits to paint, the conclave determined to make him a saint. And on newly made saints and popes, as you know, it's the custom at Rome new names to bestow. So they canonized him by the name of Jim Crow. End of section. This recording is in the public domain.
Section 189, Tubal Cain by Charles Mackay. Read for LibriVox.org by Jacob McCormick. Old Tubal Cain was a man of might in the days when earth was young. By the fierce red light of his furnace bright, the strokes of his hammer rung, and he lifted high his brawny hand on the iron glowing clear, till the sparks rushed out in scarlet showers as he fashioned the sword and spear. And he sang, "Hurrah for my handiwork! Hurrah for the spear and sword! Hurrah for the hand that shall wield them well, for he shall be king and lord." To Tubal Cain came many a one, as he wrought by his roaring fire, and each one prayed for a strong steel blade as the crown of his desire. And he made them weapons sharp and strong, till they shouted loud for glee, and gave him gifts of pearls and gold, and spoils of the forest free. And they sang, "Hurrah for Tubal Cain, who has given us strength anew! Hurrah for the smith! Hurrah for the fire! And hurrah for the metal true!" But a sudden change came o'er his heart ere the setting of the sun, and Tubal Cain was filled with pain for the evil he had done. He saw that men, with rage and hate, made war upon their kind, that the land was red with the blood they shed, in their lust for carnage blind. And he said, "Alas, that I ever made, or that skill of mine should plan, the spear and the sword for men whose joy is to slay their fellow man." And for many a day old Tubal Cain sat brooding over his woe, and his hand forbore to smite the ore, and his furnace smoldered low. But he rose at last with a cheerful face and a bright, courageous eye, and bared his strong right arm for work, while the quick flames mounted high. And he sang, "Hurrah for my handiwork!" And the red sparks lit the air. Not alone for the blade was the bright steel made. And he fashioned the first plowshare. And men, taught wisdom from the past, in friendship joined their hands, hung the sword in the hall, the spear on the wall, and plowed the willing lands, and sang, "Hurrah for Tubal Cain! Our staunch good friend is he, and for the plowshare and the plow, to him our praise shall be. But while oppression lifts its head, or a tyrant would be lord, though we may thank him for the plow, we'll not forget the sword." End of section. This recording is in the public domain.
The Three Preachers by Charles Mackay. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. There are three preachers, ever preaching, filled with eloquence and power. One is old, with locks of white, skinny as an anchorite, and he preaches every hour. With a shrill, fanatic voice, and a bigot's fiery scorn.
Backward, ye presumptuous nations! Man to misery is born, born to drudge and sweat and suffer, born to labor and to pray. Backward, ye presumptuous nations! Back, be humble, and obey!
The second is a milder preacher. Soft he talks, as if he sung. Sleek and slothful is his look, and his words, as from a book, issue glibly from his tongue. With an air of self-content, high he lifts his fair white hands. Stand ye still, ye restless nations, and be happy, all ye lands. Fate is law, and law is perfect. If ye meddle, ye will mar. Change is rash, and ever was so. We are happy as we are. Mightier is the younger preacher. Genius flashes from his eyes, and the crowds who hear his voice give him, while their souls rejoice, throbbing bosoms for replies. Awed they listen, yet elated, while his stirring accents fall. Forward, ye deluded nations! Progress is the rule of all. Man was made for healthful effort. Tyranny hath crushed him long. He shall march from good to better, and do battle with the wrong. Standing still is childish folly. Going backward is a crime. None should patiently endure any ill that he can cure. Onward, keep the march of time. Onward, while a wrong remains to be conquered by the right. While oppression lifts a finger to affront us by his might. While an error clouds the reason of the universal heart, or a slave awaits his freedom, action is the wise man's part. Lo, the world is rich in blessings. Earth and ocean, flame and wind have unnumbered secrets still, to be ransacked when you will. For the service of mankind, science is a child as yet, and her power and scope shall grow, and her triumphs in the future shall diminish toil and woe, shall extend the bounds of pleasure with an ever-widening ken, and of woods and wildernesses make the homes of happy men. Onward, there are ills to conquer. Daily wickedness is wrought. Tyranny is swollen with pride. Bigotry is deified. Error intertwined with thought. Vice and misery ramp and crawl. Root them out. Their day has passed. Goodness is alone immortal. Evil was not made to last. Onward, and all earth shall aid us ere our peaceful flag be furled. And the preaching of this preacher stirs the pulses of the world. End of section. This recording is in the public domain.
Say Not the Struggle by Arthur Hugh Clough. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Say not the struggle, naught availeth the labour, and the wounds are vain. The enemy faints not nor faileth, and as things have been, they remain. If hopes were dupes, fears may be liars. It may be in yon smoke concealed. Your comrades chase e'en now the flyers, and but for you possess the field. For while the tired waves vainly breaking seem here no painful inch to gain, far back through creeks and inlets making comes silent flooding in the main. And not by eastern windows only, when daylight comes in the light. In front the sun climbs slow, how slowly! But westward, look, the land is bright.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Patriotism by Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Czandra. Near Montreal, 2025. Love thou thy land, with love far brought from out the storied past, and used within the present, but transfused through future time by power of thought. True love, turned round on fixed poles, love that endures not sordid ends, for English natures, freemen, friends, thy brothers and immortal souls. But pamper not a hasty time, nor feed with crude imaginings the herd, wild hearts, and feeble wings that every sophister can lime. Deliver not the tasks of might to weakness, neither hide the ray from those not blind who wait for day, though sitting girt with doubtful light. Make knowledge circle with the winds, but let her herald reverence fly before her to whatever sky bear seed of men and growth of minds. Watch what main currents draw the years, cut prejudice against the grain, but gentle words are always gain, regard the weakness of thy peers. Nor toil for title, place, or touch of pension, neither count on praise, it grows to guerdon after days, nor deal in watchwords overmuch, not clinging to some ancient saw, not mastered by some modern term, not swift nor slow to change, but firm, and in its season bring the law, that from discussion's lip may fall with life that, working strongly, binds, set in all lights by many minds to close the interests of all. For nature also, cold and warm and moist and dry, devising long through many agents, making strong, matures the individual form. Meet is it changes should control our being, lest we rust in ease. We all are changed by still degrees, all but the basis of the soul. So let the change which comes be free to engroove itself with that which flies, and work a joint of state that plies its office, moved with sympathy. A saying, hard to shape in act, for all the past of time reveals a bridal dawn of thunder peals, wherever thought hath wedded fact. Even now we hear with inward strife emotion toiling in the gloom, the spirit of the years to come yearning to mix himself with life. A slow developed strength awaits completion in a painful school, phantoms of other forms of rule, new majesties of mighty states, the warders of the growing hour, but vague in vapor, hard to mark, and round them sea and air are dark with great contrivances of power. Of many changes, aptly joined, is bodied forth the second whole. Regard gradation, lest the soul of discord race the rising wind, a wind to puff your idle fires, and heap their ashes on the head, to shame the boast so often made that we are wiser than our sires. Oh, yet, if nature's evil star drive men in manhood as in youth, to follow flying steps of truth across the brazen bridge of war, if new and old, disastrous feud must ever shock like armed foes, and this be true till time shall close, that principles are reigned in blood. Not yet the wise of heart would cease to hold his hope through shame and guilt, but with his hand against the hilt would pace the troubled land like peace. Not less, though dogs of faction bay, would serve his kind in deed and word, certain if knowledge bring the sword, that knowledge takes the sword away. Would love the gleams of good that broke from either side, nor veil his eyes, and if some dreadful need should rise, would strike, and firmly, and one stroke. Tomorrow yet would reap today, as we bear blossom of the dead, earn well the thrifty months, nor wed raw haste, half sister to delay. End of section. This recording is in the public domain.
Today and Tomorrow by Gerald Massey. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. High hopes that burned like stars sublime go down in the heaven of freedom, and true hearts perish in the time we bitterliest need 'em. But never sit we down and say there's nothing left but sorrow. We walk the wilderness today, the promised land tomorrow. Our birds of song are silent now, few are the flowers blooming, yet life is in the frozen bough, and freedom's spring is coming, and freedom's tide creeps up alway, though we may strand in sorrow, and our good bark aground today shall float again tomorrow. 'Tis weary watching wave by wave, and yet the tide heaves onward. We climb like corals grave by grave that pave a pathway sunward. We are driven back for our next fray a newer strength to borrow, and where the vanguard camps today, the rear shall rest tomorrow. Through all the long dark night of years the people's cry ascendeth, and earth is wet with blood and tears, but our meek sufferance endeth. The few shall not for ever sway, the many moil in sorrow. The powers of hell are strong today, the Christ shall rise tomorrow. Though hearts brood o'er the past, our eyes with smiling futures glisten, for lo, our day bursts up the skies. Lean out your souls and listen. The world is rolling freedom's way, and ripening with her sorrow. Take heart, who bear the cross today shall wear the crown tomorrow. O youth, flame earnest, still aspire with energies immortal. To many a heaven of desire our yearning opes a portal. And though age wearies by the way, and hearts break in the furrow, youth sows the golden grain today, the harvest comes tomorrow. Build up heroic lives, and all be like a sheathen sabre, ready to flash out at God's call. O chivalry of labor, triumph and toil are twins, though they be singly born in sorrow, and 'tis the martyrdom today brings victory tomorrow. End of section. This recording is in the public domain.
Ring Out Wild Bells by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Ring out wild bells to the wild sky, the flying cloud, the frosty light. The year is dying in the night. Ring out wild bells and let him die. Ring out the old, ring in the new. Ring happy bells across the snow. The year is going, let him go. Ring out the false, ring in the true. Ring out the grief that saps the mind, for those that here we see no more. Ring out the feud of rich and poor. Ring in redress to all mankind. Ring out a slowly dying cause, and ancient forms of party strife. Ring in the nobler modes of life, with sweeter manners, purer laws. Ring out the want, the care, the sin, the faithless coldness of the times. Ring out, my mournful rhymes, but ring the fuller minstrel in. Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good. Ring out old shapes of foul disease. Ring out the narrowing lust of gold. Ring out the thousand wars of old. Ring in the 1,000 years of peace. Ring in the valiant man and free, the larger heart, the kindlier hand. Ring out the darkness of the land. Ring in the Christ that is to be. End of section. This recording is in the public domain. Rule Britannia by James Thompson. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. When Britain first at heaven's command arose from out the azure main, this was the charter of the land, and guardian angels sang this strain. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. The nations not so blessed as thee must in their turn to tyrants fall, while thou shalt flourish great and free, the dread and envy of them all. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. Still more majestic shalt thou rise, more dreadful from each foreign stroke, as the loud blast that tears the skies serves but to root thy native oak. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. The haughty tyrants ne'er shall tame, all their attempts to bend thee down will but arouse thy generous flame to work their woe and thy renown. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. To thee belongs the rural reign, thy cities shall with commerce shine, all thine shall be the subject main, and every shore it circles thine. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. The Muses still with freedom found shall to thy happy coast repair, blessed isle with matchless beauty crowned, and manly hearts to guard the fair. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. End of section. This recording is in the public domain. End of successful recitations by various.